Hi, I'm James Mullins, and this is going to be the next video in our Simple Nutrition series. And today's video I'm going to talk about obesity. Now, obesity is it's a little bit of a scary topic. It's something that affects everyone now, and it's something that we need to cover. Want to at least cover it. There's not a lot of nutritional strategies in here as far as things I'm going to cover, but I want to at least cover the topic and at least explain some of the major concerns that you need to have about obesity. And it's something that everyone needs to be aware of, and a lot of it is caused by nutrition, so it is directly tied to it, and it needs discussed in a nutritional context. So if we're going to have a nutrition group, then we need to cover it. So obesity. Obesity is going to be defined as a BMI of over 30, but overweight is a BMI from 25 to 29.9. You can see a picture here, and it's just got some different body types. The first one being normal, overweight, BMI of 26, obese class. First class is going to be BMI 30, the next class is BMI 35, the next class is BMI 40 or over, and that's severely obese. So just to give you an idea, now sadly most people now are going to be overweight or further along than that. I was obese at one point because my BMI was over 30. So it's something that most people are going to identify with. I'm sure everyone knows someone who's having some weight issue and suffers from obesity. The good news is we can fix most people. It's something that isn't unchangeable. All of my weight problems that I had before, I was able to get taken care of and address. And people are doing it daily. They're addressing their weight problems. The scary thing is, though, is that even though most people are overweight, a great percentage of people now aren't moving in the right direction. They're not cleaning up their nutrition. They're slowly, maybe not steadily moving in, but they are at least slowly moving in the direction of severe obesity. And the scary part is people don't realize that they're doing that daily. So we talked about in one of the earlier videos, if you just have a 100 calorie overage each day, that can lead to 10 pounds gained in a year. And if you continue to do that year after year after year, you're going to get to severe obesity. So you really have to make changes in your diet now in order to make sure that doesn't happen. It's something that can easily happen if you're not paying attention to your diet and trying to eat healthy. Unfortunately, with the way things are with our food, they've altered it a lot and got to where a lot of things are made and they're not natural. And because of all the additives and the preservatives, it's made it to where it's real easy for people to gain weight. And for a long time, people were worried about low-fat diets, so they upped the carb intake, they upped the sugar, and they were worried about fat. And that has led to us as a society having a lot bigger problem with carbs and insulin resistance and things like that, and leading to a lot of other dietary issues. So, but just to define obesity, we're looking at a BMI of 30 plus is going to put us in the obese range. BMI is not always the best tool. If you are muscular or based on your body type, your BMI could be over 30. I think mine right now is over 30, even though I'm in a healthy weight class. But based on my body fat percentage and everything, then I'm in good shape. It's just because I'm a little more muscular, then it's going to put me in a different BMI. So definitely people, bodybuilders who have like 5% body fat, they would be classified as obese just based on BMI, but if you look at their body fat and body composition, they're not going to be in the obese scale. So it's not always the best tool, but it's a really good tool. And if you can just look at the pictures and body composition, that's going to give you an idea of people that need to address it. If both parents are obese, then a child has a 80% chance of obesity. Childhood obesity is a very big problem now, and it's just continuing to rise, so it's something that we need to look at. And just knowing that I think is some good information for people to have. Just because parents of a child are obese doesn't mean that the child will be. We'll talk about some strategies that you can maybe use in order to help. But genetics will make up 50 to 90% of the ability to store body fat. So it's just how your body fat is stored. It's not the fact that they'll be obese. And sex, age, ethnicity, and gender all play a factor. Women have more body fat than men. They carry it in different places. And that's going to be a little bit of what we're talking about when we talk about genetics, is just based on your genetics, your body composition is going to be different. So you're going to hold your body fat in different areas kind of based on your genetics. But just because your parents might have been overweight, or it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be obese or that your child will be obese. A lot of it has to do with the environmental factors, which we'll get into in a moment. So the environmental factors that contribute to obesity. One is low socioeconomical status. I know I've seen this personally. I'm from a really small town. Our economy wasn't great, and definitely I've seen this. I've lived with parents who had poor eating habits. Like I said, I was overweight, and a lot of that is just our views on food and things like that. And a lot of the people in the area had some of the same problems. Also, level of education can contribute to obesity. I don't think that's always the case. I think I'm a very educated person, but like I said, I was obese. I think that education is pretty much specific to food and nutrition, which is why I really wanted to do something with the course and try to put something together to try to help just the general populace be able to understand this stuff a little better. This is stuff that I wish I had many years ago, so that I could see this and people could explain to me why I should worry about the food that I eat, and that I'm not invincible, and that there can be problems that arise in the future if I don't pay attention to what I'm eating. Food is fuel. A lot of people didn't talk about that, and a lot of people didn't communicate to me that you eat to live. It's why you eat. You don't eat for enjoyment. You don't eat for social reasons. You eat to live. And once that really sunk in, it was a big change in me. Like, I don't need food for anything except to keep me alive and keep driving my performance and my functionality. If we didn't have food readily available, we would worry about it because we needed it, but we wouldn't focus on it as a means to emotional, satisfaction. And I think that just because it's so easily accessible that and it's everywhere, that we have problems with it. So we've talked about some factors. The next one's going to be media, and like I said, food's everywhere. If you turn on the TV, you see 50 commercials about cheeseburgers and food and the next thing. So because of that, it just aids in us wanting food and thinking that it's necessary and that it should be this unhealthy stuff, when it could be something that we grew in a garden. Environment's going to play a role as far as environmental factors. Like I said, I try not to keep unhealthy food in my house anymore. I think that's an environmental factor that you have control of. Some other ones, though, that you may not, might be the area you live. Maybe you don't have, I know that we're talking about a lot of places in the South that might not have sidewalks in the neighborhood, so there's not as big of an opportunity to get out and do things and be active. Some places in cities might not have the playgrounds that they need in order for the children to get out and do some different things. But environment can play a role. Also, work environment. If you're at a desk for a long time, or you're sedentary throughout the day, then that's going to play a role. So a lot of different factors that can play into contributing to obesity. Social factors is talking about eating as a group or eating as a family. A lot of people have problems if you have a family gathering. If you have those frequently, then you're probably going to get a lot of food that's unhealthy. And I know a lot of people trying to get their nutrition in check and trying to start diet plans, or trying to get things aligned a little better. they'll have to plan around those. And if you've watched the diet videos and some of the meal planning and food selection stuff, then you see how maybe I would take an approach to that, to where I can still have those things at a family get together and you know, not feel guilty or not have problems, because it's not that you can't have the things, it's just you're choosing not to. And the way that I do it, I can actually have them, and I can alter the program in order to fit that in. So, but there are social factors that do contribute. I have a lot of people who talk about going out with friends and you know, eating at restaurants and unhealthy things like that. So, you know, a lot of different things that can contribute to obesity that you have to be aware of, you have to be looking for. Lifestyle, we talked about, you know, work, and we talked about some different things around neighborhoods, or just revolving around lifestyle factors, and psychological factors of obesity. So sometimes depression or different things like that can aid and help contribute to obesity. So there can be psychological factors that go into it. Lots of different things that can contribute to it. If you're having a problem with obesity, or you know someone that is, then you know, we need to be trying to identify those factors and see if we can help and improve some of those things to make it to where they're not a cause anymore. Some health risks with obesity. You see there's a ton over here on the body of different things. You probably can't make them out very well on the slide, but some of the things, the longer you're obese, the higher the risks become. So like I said, I was obese at one point. Had I just continued, the longer that continued, the worse off I would have been. And eventually, I'm sure it would have killed me. Like I said in the my story video, doctor said that when I got healthy and I lost weight, that I had 10 years to my life. So never did bother to tell me that I was taking 10 years away from it. But essentially, that's what you're doing. You're increasing the risks the longer you're obese. If you're overweight, you have a 2 to 6 times more higher chance to develop hypertension. So 2 to 6 times higher chance to develop hypertension if you're overweight. Increased risk of stroke, deep vein thrombosis, impaired cardiac function, insulin resistance, or diabetes. So a handful of illnesses there, all at increased risk. So think about the major causes of death in the United States, and the top like 5 are all going to be something that obesity contributes to. So things like diabetes, heart disease, things like that, they're all going to be things that obesity is contributing to directly. And you want to try to make sure that you're getting a handle on that so that you don't run into those things. We're all talking about living longer, healthier, more fulfilling lives, and in order to do that, we're going to have to make sure that we get obesity rate in. It can be a risk factor for cancer. If you're obese, you're more likely to have degenerative joint disease, sleep apnea, breathing constraints, problems with anesthesia. So if you have to have surgery, then there's a lot higher likelihood that you're going to have problems with that. And compromised wound healing. So obesity is going to cause a lot of problems with the body. I know sleep apnea is a big thing. I've witnessed that. I've seen a lot of people who are obese who have sleep apnea, and the first thing that the doctor recommends is, if you lose weight, it's going to help. And a lot of people look at food, or they look at exercise, and they look at all the cost in it. There's been studies about the cost of obesity, and they're very detailed studies. It goes into things like how much more gas a car uses with obese and overweight person compared to a normal weight person. It goes into sick days at work. It goes into lost time at work. It goes into health costs, insurance costs, a lot of different things like that. And I know that a lot of insurance companies and a lot of jobs now are making it to where if you're above a certain weight or below a certain weight, if you're below a certain weight, you actually get benefits on your health plan. So a lot of people are trying to do some different things, but there's a lot of things you need to be concerned with obesity. Another thing is psychological burden, which we talked about before, as some of the causes, but it can actually cause depression, stigmatization, bullying, and discrimination. Something I've talked about with numerous people is one, there's a lot of research that's went into the different factors about hiring people. I've seen several documentaries about people who were elected for elected officials, and just because someone was cleaner cut or better looking, that they were elected over someone else, and they would just put the pictures up and you could pick the winner just based on how they look. Not their qualifications, not their education, but just based on what they look like, you could pick, and 90% of the time you would pick the winner. Which isn't to say that that's what people were voting on consciously, but subconsciously it's something that plays a part. And I've always talked about obesity and how whether or not people want to admit it or even are doing it consciously, that there is a bias toward healthy, fit, and attractive people. And in order to help with some of the self-esteem issues, in order to ensure that you are getting an equal shot at everything, then maybe you need to try to make some changes in order to take care of the obesity issues that you're having, because it can lead to discrimination. We don't want that. I don't want anybody to think that I'm talking down to anyone or anything like that. I actually want to help. I've been there. I do think that that I was in a place where I wasn't the best me that I could be, and in order to get out of that, it changed a lot of things mentally for me. It changed a lot of things physically for me, and it has made me a lot more confident and given me a lot more abilities that I wish everyone else could have, and people could have the same self-confidence, the same determination and drive, and things that that overcoming obesity has helped me with. So, a lot of different things to look at with that, but there is a lot of depression that's from it. Kids now with childhood obesity go through a lot of bullying, so we want to make sure that we're trying to address obesity, get our nutrition taken care of, and that we're not continuing to head in the wrong direction with that. So just to summarize the obesity portion of this, we want to make sure that we're checking our weight, that we're keeping an eye on it, that it's not increasing. The only time we should be increasing in weight is if it's someone who is lean and is trying to add muscle. That's the only thing we should be increasing, something that will help performance and something that's going to help us function more optimally. We want to make sure we're checking our BMI or our body composition to ensure optimal health. We want to try to change factors that are influencing the problem. So if it's your nutrition, if it's lack of exercise, if it's environmental, sociological, whatever we're doing that's the problem, we need to start identifying those. And I want to make sure that everyone understands that this is going to be something that's going to continue to grow if you don't identify it, because just being over, like I said, that small calorie portion every day is just going to continue to rise. So the main thing that people need to focus on before exercise would be food and nutrition, to make sure that that we are at least staying at an even calorie goal for the day, and then use our exercise to get under that. But the nutrition part is the part that's going to help solve the obesity problem. You need to know the health risks. Like I said, there are tons of health risks from obesity. If you have some family members who have certain health problems, then you may be more at risk, so you want to make sure that you're aware of those. You need to know those health risks and see what you can do to improve and make sure that that you're staying safe and staying healthy. And the main thing is to start making those changes today. Like I said, it's only going to continue to get worse if you don't start making changes. Don't wait till 5 years or 10 years and then try to make a change. It's just going to be that much harder then. You want to start trying to take care of the problem now. If you know people who would benefit from this, I'm actually going to share this this video on the website for the SL Fitness, and make sure that we get it out there. So just share the video. Hopefully somebody will see it, and we can get them involved in some things that will help with their nutrition and their lifestyle changes. So most of the videos I know I've just had for the group, but I thought this was a good topic that everybody needs to see. So if it might not pertain to you particularly or personally, maybe you know somebody, and if not, hopefully they'll see it on the website and benefit from it. But obesity is a major concern for us in our country. We need to make sure we're doing all we can to help. So thank you.